You take a job as the night watchman at the old Orpheum Theater for the silence. The place closed down in the 80s, and it's been a time capsule ever since. Row after row of velvet seats covered in dust, gilded plasterwork flaking from the ceiling, and the faint, sweet smell of stale popcorn clinging to the air. My routine was simple: a walk through the dusty aisles, a check on the ancient boiler room, and then hours of glorious, uninterrupted nothing, just me and the ghosts of 1,000 old movies. That all changed last Tuesday. I was making my rounds, the beam of my flashlight cutting through the oppressive darkness of the main auditorium. That's when I heard it. A sound that made the hair on my arms stand up. It came from the projection booth high above the distinct clatter of the old 35mm projector. The one we never, ever use. The one that hasn't had power running to it in decades. I rushed up the narrow, winding stairs, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I burst into the booth, expecting to confront a squatter or a prankster, but the booth was empty, utterly empty, yet the projector was on, its gears turning, the film feeding through it all by itself. My eyes were drawn to the projectionist's window, down to the massive silver screen in the auditorium below. A black and white image flickered to life. It was grainy, shaky, like an old home movie from the 40s. It showed the main lobby, the grand staircase, the boarded-up concession stand. And then I saw him. A figure walking through the frame. It was me. On screen, I was walking right past the concession stand, my flashlight beam bouncing off the dusty glass. My blood ran cold. This was footage from maybe 10 minutes ago. How was this possible? The film suddenly cut to another shot. The balcony. I saw myself from behind, looking down at the vast sea of empty seats. That was from just 5 minutes ago. I felt a wave of nausea. It was watching me. This went on for nights. Every time, the projector would whir to life on its own. And every time, the film would show me things I had just done. It was always a few steps behind me, a ghostly cinematographer tracing my every move. It showed me checking the locks on the front doors. It showed me sitting in the ticket booth, reading a book. It even showed me talking to myself, my voice echoing in the empty hall. I started talking to the empty theater, my voice shaking with a mix of fear and frustration. "Who's there? What do you want from me?" The only answer was the echo of my own desperate voice. Last night was different. The projector started up again, its mechanical clatter a familiar, dreaded sound, but this time, I didn't run, I didn't hide. I just walked into the center of the auditorium, stood in the main aisle, and looked up at the screen, defeated. I was tired of running. This time, the footage was different. It wasn't delayed. It was live. I saw myself standing there, in real time, looking up at the screen. The camera angle was from the very back of the balcony, high up in the shadows. I slowly turned my head, my eyes scanning the darkness of the upper level. The balcony was empty. Of course, it was empty. I looked back at the screen, and my heart stopped. In the grainy black and white image, I was still standing there, but I wasn't alone anymore. A tall, thin figure in a crisp, old-fashioned usher's uniform was standing right behind me on screen. Its face was a pale blur, indistinct in the flickering light. Its hand, long and skeletal, was reaching out, the fingers just inches from touching my shoulder. I didn't wait. I didn't scream. I didn't even look back. I just ran. I sprinted out of the auditorium, through the lobby, and burst out the emergency exit into the cool night air. I left the Orpheum and I didn't stop running until the comforting lights of my own home were in sight. I called in and quit this morning. The manager didn't even sound surprised. But sometimes, in the dead of night, when the house is quiet, I can still hear it, the faint, mechanical whir of that projector. And I can't shake the chilling feeling that somewhere, in that dark and silent theater, the film is still rolling, and it's just waiting to find its new leading man.